time for two-step equations. A lot of people will tell me that they think the two steps are easier than the one steps. I'm not sure why, but they do. A two-step equation is two steps because it has two operations. All right, it'll have either an add or subtract, and then it'll also have a multiply or a divide. Okay, sorry about that little light thing. My lights went out in the room. So you'll see that this one has a subtract and it has a division. So some of them will have an add with that division, or some of them will have an add and a multiplication, or a subtract and a multiplication. So it'll either have an add or a subtract and a multiply or a divide. So to solve them, you're going to use the inverse operations to undo each operation in reverse order. So reverse order of operations, basically, where we usually end with add and subtract. That's where we're going to start, because we're going to undo everything. So first we're always going to undo our adding and subtracting, then we're going to undo our multiplication or division. So let's just go straight down to here and do some examples. I'm not going to model these ones. All right, so I'm going to undo my addition first. That's a 2. You can do this one of two ways. You can minus 2, or you can add two negatives. If you want to have a line going down so that you keep everything straight, if that helps you, then you do that. If I minus 2 on one side, I do that on the other. Can I also do plus negative 2 instead? Absolutely. If you prefer to do the plus negative 2, I want you to put plus negative 2 on each side. So pick one way. Either way, those 2's are going to cancel out. I'm going to have a 5t on the left that I bring down, and 7 minus 2 is 5. I now am left with a multiplication. I undo multiplication with division. So to get the number to cancel out, you have to divide it by itself to get 1t. And if I divide 5 on one side, I have to divide 5 on the other side. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Let's skip over to this one so I can do a subtraction one. I've got a minus 8. So I am going to get rid of the minus 8 by adding 8. Could you have changed this to plus negative 8 instead? Absolutely. Whatever I do on one side, I'm going to do on the other. The 8's cancel out, and you have 6u on one side, and then 28 plus 8 is going to give me 36 on the other side. I'm going to undo with division now because I have a multiplication, and I divide by itself so that I'll get 1u. 36 divided by 6 is 6. Okay, let's come down here. I like this one with all these negatives in here. So the variable's on this side, which means that I'm going to start work on the right side this time. And I see I have a minus 25. You can either change it to plus negative 25 or leave it alone. And to get rid of the minus 25, we're going to add 25. And whatever I do on one side, I'll do on the other. So on the left side now, you got to be really good with our integers, right? Negative 10 and 25 is 15. And on this side, I have negative 5x. I have to undo the multiplication, and remember, you divide it by the exact same amount. So I have to divide it by a negative 5 if I wanted to get a positive 1. And I divide it by negative 5 to do the same thing on both sides. I'll get x on the left, and when I divide this, I'll get negative 3. Okay? Let's do one more division. I have a plus 6. If it helps, draw your line. You can add a negative 6, or you can minus 6. It doesn't matter. Whatever is more comfortable for you. So when I minus 6, that's going to give me 64. I'm going to times, I'm going to undo and times both sides by 4. The 4's will cross out. And if I multiply 64 times 4, I'm going to get 256. Okay? So there's also some problems I wanted to show you that will have, let's see, where you have to simplify and solve. You'll have some where you have to simplify and solve. So let's say that I had, let's write a problem up here. Let's say that we had 4a plus 15 plus negative 5 equals 42. So here's the two sides, right? If on one side you have things that are like terms, you're going to actually combine them first. So now I have 4a plus 15 plus negative 5 is 10 equals 42, and then you'll go from there, okay? You could sometimes have more than one variable. You might have like 3a plus 6 plus 2a minus 4 equals 10. I don't know if this will come out even, but it's just an example. So just like when I would do my simplifying before, I want to simplify these two to get 5a, simplify this and a minus 4 to get 2, and then I'm going to solve my two-step equation from there. So be on the lookout for that on probably the second day of practice with this, where you'll have to simplify a little bit and solve as well. So remember, undoing the adding or subtracting first, then the multiplication or division second. Oh, I do want to make a note on one that looks like this. So when we do this one, see where the minus 3 is? It's in front of the 3m. I need the that's going to be the last step, the division part, or the undoing the multiplication. So I need to get rid of the 12. So I can either minus 12 or add a negative 12 to it. Here's the tricky part. This here has a minus in front of it. And so that minus would be the same as plus negative 3. So when that 3 comes down, that minus has to come with it. You can't forget about that minus when it's backwards like this. All right, so then I would divide negative 3 on both sides, and I would get negative 2. So be really careful when it's written backwards like that. If you have a minus in front of your coefficient, that minus comes down now as a negative.